INEOS believes that the new Grenadier is going to be such a hit in Australia for touring and towing that they've flown me all the way to Scotland for the first drives. Now, this isn't a proper tow test. We don't have anything behind it. But today we will go through the specs, which I think are a standout for the critical things that matter for towing: capability, efficiency and comfort. Starting with its capability, we'll look at the towing and weight capacity specs and then the driveline. So on the screen are going to be a whole bunch of specs and details I found in the brochure. You can too, but a couple stood out to me. The first is the 3,550 kilo GVM. Now, why that matters is that if you're a bit tax savvy, you'll realize it takes away one of the silly commercial vehicle taxes. And it also doesn't get luxury car tax, which means for me, I think it's fairly reasonably priced at under 100 grand for a well-spec'd car. Now, the other spec that stands out is payload, up to 855 kilos, which is a lot more than a lot of the Japanese counterparts have in our tow favorites, like the 300 series, which can be in a VX Sahara only 535 kilos. And through the power of tables, here's a look at all of the major competitors for the new INEOS Grenadier. The Grenadier is right up there with the 70 series Land Cruiser for real-world tow credentials. What I mean by that is watch out when a manufacturer says a car can tow 3,500 kilos, as sometimes there is not enough room in the gross combined mass after hitching up the trailer to allow for any semblance of gear in the car or on it. A bad example is the 300 series Sahara, which after hooking up at max capacity trailer weight only leaves 420 kilos to be used for passengers and extra gear like fridges, bull bars and roof racks. But the Grenadier looks good with what I think will be the most popular, the diesel 5-door, coming in with a usable payload of around 610 kilos when lugging a big caravan with a high ball weight. The other bit of capability is in its driveline, its gearbox, transfer case, engine, diffs and suspension. I'll get to the specs in a second, but the first thing to know is that INEOS has not taken this lightly. The car I'm driving has come about after 1.8 million kilometres of prototype testing, including down under, where it was caned in the Outback, floods, heat and dust. What had to stand up to the hard testing are some of the best components in the business. A few choice words have been posted online about the engines in the Grenadier. Your choice is a BMW 3-litre 6-cylinder in diesel or petrol. The diesel will be a popular pick, and it's an engine I know well, having spent a week towing a Jayco with the same B57 in a BMW X5. It was amazing. Honestly, it was astounding for fuel consumption, power and smoothness. Go check out the video on our channel. One of the reasons the X5 B57 combo was so good was the 8-speed auto transmission that the car came with, and it's a fine choice. INEOS have secured the same ZF transmission for the Grenadier. On the back of the box is a 2-speed transfer case with lockable centre diff, and you can either option on Eaton e-lockers or get them as part of the top spec Trial Master. That's cool, we know it's reliable, we know it's trustworthy, but what we find in the Outback is we break diffs and we break CVs. So the Grenadier uses Carrero diffs, which are an Italian industrial agricultural diff maker. They're about 8.6 inches crown wheel, so they should be pretty solid. And in the front, it uses Dana CVs, which are known to be solid, known to be trustworthy. And there's even Brembo brakes. The diffs are supported by coils all around with fairly short control arms. Clearance is better than a 70 series and approach and departure angles are pretty bloody good. If you don't fit a snorkel, wading depth in still water and driving slowly is 800mm. One thing I noticed underneath is that everything is well packed in, but in being so tightly packed it doesn't look like you could easily extend the 90-litre fuel tank. So no tow testing at the Grenadier launch, which is unfortunate. What I can say on efficiency though is I know that engine, I know that gearbox. It is very efficient in a BMW X5 where it comes from. Now it's a 3-litre turbo diesel 6-cylinder, silky smooth, ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox behind it and a 2-speed transfer case. Now, when we used the X5, we saw astounding fuel efficiency, around 13 to 17 litres per 100, towing a massive caravan. Now, as it sits, Grenadier expect this will be about 10 litres per 100. So when we're towing in a few months' time, I'm hoping to see around 15 to 18 litres per 100. Comfort. This is an area where the 70 series is utter crap. I have no idea how people put up with them. And the INEOS is different in a great way. It is much more like a Land Rover inside, a lot more comfortable, and it's got a lot of the mod cons you want. Not everything, but it has the important stuff, like CarPlay and Android Auto. It's also got tyre pressure monitoring system, which I think is fantastic for off-road use, and arguably the best seats in the business from Recaro. Rear seat space is pretty good. Now, the Grenadier is not a big vehicle, and I am a big bloke. You do sit slightly higher than the front seat, so you get a nice view through the windscreen. And the important things are here. There's charging for gear and anchor points for any kids' seats. Loading in the back is actually pretty good. The floor has tie-down points for heavy loads and will take a Euro pellet between the wheel arches. Plus, it has drain holes for messy loads. There is a 12-volt outlet for a fridge and up to 2,000 litres of storage volume if you fold the seats down. There is an option for a quality Rhino rack backbone roof rack that can take a static load of over 400 kilos, while the roof can take 150 kilos of dynamic load. Remember how I mentioned the GVM of the Grenadier allows it to skip a silly tax? It also means the Grenadier skirts around some safety testing that is becoming mandatory down under. This is not to say the Grenadier is designed to be unsafe, it just means it might not go through ANCAP testing and won't have to have some of the safety tech new cars have to have soon. So wrapping it up, we haven't had a chance to tow test with the new Grenadier, but what I've felt so far and what I see in the specs is that it should be a more than capable car for what we want to see. Now, we will be hooking it up in a couple of months' time and doing some serious Outback touring, but right now, on paper, the specs of this are as good, if not just about as good as the perennial favourite 70 series, but holy hell, this is way more comfortable.